If July invited us to slow down, reflect, and honor everything we've been moving through, August asks a new question. Now what? After a month of processing, nurturing ourselves, and gaining clarity, we're ready to take the next step. In this month's tarot forecast, intuitive tarot therapist Michelle Nolan taps into the collective energy for August, sharing the themes, opportunities, and guidance that can help you navigate the month with greater confidence and intention. Whether you're looking for direction or simply a deeper understanding of the energy unfolding around you, let the cards offer a fresh perspective on what's ahead. Let's see what August has in store. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Robin. Hi, Karen. Oh,
You,
happy birthday month,
that's
Karen.
right, Karen.
Thanks. I know.
Yeah, Leo season.
I was telling Robin yesterday, I love being a Leo.
Yeah, I think you totally own it.
I love a summer birthday. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear what you have to say about the whole month of August.
Great. Well, we did come off I feel like the transition between Cancer season and Leo is so different every year.
Yes.
Every
Yes.
year,
It
right?
totally is. Yes.
And like Cancer is that home space, that soft space, the feeling space. And then Leo just like comes out into the party and says, all right, time to stop staying at home and sitting on my couch and let's go do something.
Go play.
Big time.
Go play. So big, bold energy. I love it. So we'll see what happens. Just to refresh and recap for everybody, we ended with a little nervousness, a little trepidation at the end of July to make sure that we were not going backwards. And we wanted just focused on the future, focused forward, and the processing of feelings. Hopefully, everyone took time to do that because that was an important time. And now we can play, like Karen just said, in our life.
Yeah, there's a lot of forward momentum energy I'm feeling. So let's see what the cards have
Let's
to
see.
say.
Let's see. Okay. Spirit, please open the session for the Seeking Center community and anyone else who is listening and watching. And please give me clear and concise messages for what it is you want to speak with them about today. And please allow everybody to have an open heart and an open mind to receive these messages. And we thank you for your guidance, protection, and connection today. Okay, so coming into this month, we have this Three of Wands energy. I feel like it's anticipatory energy. It's this, we know something's coming at us now. We know we can see on the horizon where we're headed, but we also are not really acting right away, right? It's not an abrupt start. It's, I see where I'm headed. I feel like the path is a little more open and we're just anticipating what's coming towards us. So what I'm feeling with that, because I'm getting the 10 of Wands and the Queen of Swords too. What I'm feeling with that is there is a weight to this. Okay. There is and I don't mean weight, W-A-I-T. I mean weight, W-E-I-G-H-T. There is a load here that we're bearing. And I think what we've learned with the pace of everything in this year is we talked, I think, a few months ago about not just pacing, but where can we handle that load, right? Where can we handle that? And we want to make sure, I think right now that we're moving, even though we're moving cautiously. Okay, there's a certain level of caution that we want to make sure that we are being able to sustain that momentum still throughout the rest of the year, because the rest of the year is, I know it doesn't seem very far, but when a lot is happening in a year, that's a heavy load to bear. So I am kind of feeling with this 10 of Wands and Queen of Swords coming into the first part of the month is it's anticipating with discernment and with caution and knowing that you're carrying a lot now, right? Knowing that your burden is about continuing, right? It's about pushing forward. It's about the momentum of it. And so we're not wanting to be reactive. We're not wanting to be impulsive. We're wanting to kind of have that. If we're talking about a race, remember we talked about in the very beginning of the year, like this is like a horse race. We are in that zone where we have to keep our pace. So it kind of requires a certain level of determination. It requires a certain level of strength. It requires a certain level of power. But it also, you have to know yourself, right? In the beginning of this month, you have to know what you're able to handle and what you aren't able to handle, right? And so you have to kind of stay in that zone. That's what I'm picking up more than anything. But it is anticipatory. So the thing about Leo is, and we've been talking about this since the beginning of this year, and we are finally in the purity of Leo's strength card, right? We're in that pure space now, right? So if we've been talking about strength since the beginning of this year in all these different facets, all these different versions of what strength looks like to somebody, inner, outer, physical strength, emotional strength, all of these things, we are now in this pure space of it. So that's kind of a cool thing if you think about that, right? We're in this pure space of being able to handle a lot. So it almost has this tone to me in the beginning of the month that we've learned something that we didn't know before. That Queen of Swords energy. We learned what it is to us individually to bear burden and weight through change, right? Through a lot of change. So we know what we're doing now. So there's this level of, the Three of Wands has a very interesting energy because we are way past the zone of point of no return. So we kind of are excited, right? There's a little bit of excitement now. It's not just like, oh my God, I'm holding on for dear life and holding on for the ride. Now we have a little level of excitement because we know we can handle it.
Yes. I
Does
mean,
that make sense?
it really does, because I just think about all of these months where we basically were told we have everything we need within us. And we were pushed, really pushed over these however many months to get comfortable with that. And so I feel that we are.
Like you're almost stronger, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's when you're like in a weight training class, right?
Yeah.
And you're like the first class is like, oh my God, I cannot lift
Yes,
this,
it's a
these
great
weights, right?
analogy.
And
Yes.
then you're like a year in, you're like, oh my God, I didn't even think I could lift this. Like I didn't even think I could push my body to this kind of limit. And now it feels like a zone. It's like your operating zone of strength.
Agreed.
It is a little bit of excitement. There is that burden. We can't say that that's not here, but it is also knowing now. I think the main thing is knowing what our pace is in this race, the correct pace. For everyone's going to have an individual thing for that, right? So it's the correct place where you feel strong, you feel like you're capable, but you also know like too much. I'm not taking that on.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel
So
like we've been in a marathon in some ways.
Yes.
Beginning of the year, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then you go through these periods where you're like, I don't know. I don't know if I can keep going. And that was really those moments earlier, I think, in the year, into April and May. And then now I think we're further enough through it that we're like, damn, right?
Yeah.
right.
I weathered through it. I pushed on through. So we can kind of savor a little bit of that. Okay, I can do this thing. That's where we are right now.
Right. And so it's the Queen of Swords being the feminine energy of air. I am getting a lot of swords energy in this reading so far. So this kind of tells me, it talks to me a lot about discernment and our ability now to think differently. We're thinking differently in terms of what we're carrying and what our goals are and what we're able to handle. I think that's the biggest thing, what we're able to handle. But it's like a different type of thinking. So when I get a lot of swords energy, that Uranus energy is kind of still in here because we've been recalibrating what change looks like, how we deal with change, right? We've been recalibrating our entire system here. And so this is like our thought processes right now are in this really direct mode of saying yes and no, right? Yes, that works. No, that doesn't work. Yes, that works. No, that doesn't work. And we know that now. We know where to move and where to not move. So I think there's a strong, I'm almost picking up on an intelligence, like this natural intelligence that we have, this intuitive intelligence for how we're operating in this month. So it's almost like a little bit of trust, but it's more, I think, about how we think. We just think differently now. Change is just not as scary. And also, it's more our reactions to things are in control.
That's cool.
So moving into the middle of the month here, we had this at the end of July. We had the Six of Wands here. Had that trepidation about success and victory and what our win is. And so now in the middle of this month, it's kind of showing up for me again. And this is where I'm saying we're changing our operation of thought. Now we are in the heart of the reading. The Magician card is about knowing that we have these manifestation tools. We have it. We have all the capabilities now. All the capabilities are here. Our brain knows this. We know this on an internal level. When I say yes or no, it feels very black and white to me with this Five of Swords next to it. It's like we know what's going to sabotage our goals and we know what's going to win. How are we going to win? So there is a little bit of, I'm feeling like a boundary here of not making missteps this month. All right. Like being very discerning. Yes, I'm going to take this on. No, I'm going to not take this on. Yes, I'm capable of doing this thing, this project. If something is new, learning it really quickly and accomplishing it. It's like this very yes and no, black and white type of energy. So it does have a coldness to it that I was kind of surprised at, because Leo typically is a very bold, expressive energy. But what I feel like what's in this is a lot of communication. Communication is a big part of air energy. So if we're thinking of in terms of how we're getting things done and how we're operating now, it is not just how we're thinking, but how we're speaking, how we're talking, how we communicate. So all of that has these strict rules for us now. Yes, no, I will do that. I won't do that. So when I get this kind of Uranian energy too, that's kind of the underneath tone that the change has been happening forever and we are just used to it. But with these eclipse seasons that's happening in August, when I get swords energy, that is a really hard cutoff. Like we can just shut something down very easily and be chapter done, project done, relationship done. So we can just close that out really fast. So I kind of feel this whole vibe to me is very fast processing.
Which is also
Very
that
fast.
Uranian energy.
Yeah, it's so fast. But again, the heart of the reading, I love this, the Magician card. The Magician card is not just manifestation energy. It's about knowing now in our very 3D life and 3D self that we have all the tools, right? We have all the tools necessary. We've learned everything that we need to learn to make these decisions quickly for this, let's say, this race for what we're trying to get to at the end of the year. So it is about kind of having this, I don't want to say, I mean, ego always plays a thing with the Leo energy, okay? That's the shadow side of Leo, is having a big bravado or big ego. But the positive side of Leo is having the confidence, just having the confidence to be able to say, yes, no, I can do this. I can't do this. I'm right. I'm wrong. I know this. It's very, like when I say discernment, it's very specific. And that confidence is just here. It's just here because we know now. So here's the block with this King of Swords. The block in here is about not thinking that you need more advice, more information. Again, it's about having that inner confidence. That's the purity of strength in Leo season. Just being confident, right? Just saying, I got this. And I feel like with the King of Swords in the block, it's almost saying that if we get in our head too much here, particularly in this month, that is going to cause a misstep, right? It's going to cause that misstep. If that horse was running that race, if we were hesitating about saying, all right, I'm going to push it right now, push past the person that's in front of me. If we hesitate in that moment, that's what causes the misstep, right? Not having that inner confidence or the inner strength to just say yes or just say no and not waffle. So hesitation in this month, I think is not our friend.
So it's trusting that inner knowing. It's allowing flow.
Yeah, it feels different than flow to me. It feels more like an operating system where there is just a yes button and a no button. That's it. There's a yes button and a no button. And there's no like, well, there's a maybe. Is there a maybe? No, there's no maybes. It's pretty black and white.
Are you saying though, I'm just thinking about myself. I can have those moments where I don't trust. And so are you saying in that case just to go for the first thing, like just go for the yes or no? Like
Mhm.
don't hesitate, just go for what comes. That's a really interesting thing to push oneself on because I think many of us do that where we overthink or we overanalyze and to just experiment a little bit with leaning into that.
I'm trying to think of another example of when people can mess up, right? Like, because this really talks in the middle of this month about it's not fear, it truly is hesitation, right? It truly is about hesitation. Like, we very quickly we could miss that window. So,
Yeah.
again, think of like a race car driver, even when they know that they're going to overtake. I'm an F1 person. So, if they're going to overtake, and that means they're going to go for passing, they're going to go for passing this car, there has to be a moment of all in, right? Like they can't do that little, I don't know, I'm not sure. Okay, should I go? Should I not go? There's that moment of, okay, I'm going. And then it's just,
You
sorry,
commit, you
race.
commit to whatever that
You
is, right?
commit and it's balls to the wall,
Yeah.
right? It's just, let's go.
I love that. I really think that's going to speak to a lot of people who do tend to waffle on decisions. Just lean into it this month. Just try it out.
And if you get like that, don't go or no,
Yeah.
just trust
Yeah.
it. Move
Then
on.
don't go.
Move on.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Because like I said, what we've come from and how we got here to this moment in this part of the year, in this time frame, in this whole timeline of our life is that we have been changing and changing our own operating system, right? However, we intuitively take in and process information very fast, very quickly now. And it's almost like with the magician card in the middle, I love this in the middle. It's saying, believe it. Believe that you process things very quickly now. It's very different. And so what your own yes or no is. You know it. You don't have to ask people about it. You don't have to hesitate on it. You know if that misstep is going to cause something to completely F up your goal or it's going to be the win, right? You know it. So it's trusting that quick decision making and not waffling. And
Right.
communication, like I said, communication is key here when I pick up a lot of swords energy. We always want to be clear. And usually coming out of Mercury retrograde, that is kind of the gift that we get, right? Is that things start to become just clearer because they were a little foggy during Mercury retrograde. So there is like clarity in general of communication, clarity of, like I said, decisions, clarity of decisiveness. So that's how it feels to me. But I think with this block with the King of Swords is we can get in our head here. We can definitely get in our head because when I see this Five of Swords next to it, it very much tells us about how careful these missteps are, but we don't want to treat that as precious, right? We don't want to say like, oh, that's even going to scare me more. If I make a wrong move, then everything's falling apart and I lose this race. Again, think of that race car driver or that person on that horse in the middle of the race. If they really were thinking about one little step could lose the race, or think of like an athlete in the Olympics, if they're really thinking about that, that would send anybody into a state of not being able
Right.
to move.
So true.
Right. So you can't overthink it to that point.
Yeah.
But knowing that, yes, we are hyper locked in on focus. That's what it kind of feels to me more than, I'm trying to go back to this idea, what you said, Robin, about flow. It's a different type of flow. It feels like tunnel vision. When you're in that space of like everything else kind of closes out around you and you just know what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
I get that.
So there's an aspect of that. That's
Yeah. It's like a specific, exactly.
very
It's
specific.
specific. I get
And
that.
I love the race car analogy, though. I think that's a really good one to keep in mind that you can't allow yourself to be diverted. Like you have to just really go with what you feel and just
Yeah.
do it.
The only part that feels like okay, we know under the surface we could kind of sabotage with a bad decision like this is not the moment or is this the moment? It
Mhm.
is that fast. But again, if we get in our head too much, we're eliminating our instinct. This is
Yeah.
instinctual now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a good word.
Yeah. I
Yes.
think that is a great way to phrase that. It is.
Yeah.
It's instinctual.
It's different than intuition. Intuition is like we kind of sit in the feelings of intuition. Instinct is like we did the homework about intuition. We did the homework about how we operate. So where we are right here is the execution of intuition,
I
which is
love
Yeah.
that,
yes.
Michelle. That's a
Yes.
great
The
way of
execution of
talking about the difference between this. It's a little bit of a nuance, but it's there.
Yeah, instinct just has a different tone to it.
It
And that's
does.
why it feels like it's a little more mental, right?
Yeah.
This is a little more of like a mental space. We don't want to get back in our head and overthink, overanalyze, and also overlearn, okay? And overprocess. Because right now where we are with the influx of information that we have at our fingertips in any single moment of the day, we have to be very discerning about what we're taking in and know that with this magician card here, I think that is a very spiritual, this is a very 3D spiritual version now, is saying, I don't need any more information. I don't need it. What I need to do is check in with myself in a very quick moment and know what I need to do.
Okay.
Got
Okay.
it.
So very quick. And even the way I'm speaking feels pressured. Like it just feels that way. It feels like it's just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's keep it moving.
All right.
Anything else I want to say about that? Again, that Uranian energy is very much here. I would say to everyone, the challenge also with this King of Swords is we don't want to get into that space also of, and it's not just over analysis, but over explaining ourselves. I think a lot of people have a habit of they make a decision and then afterwards they try to explain to other people why they made that decision because they feel like they're getting judged or they're required to explain it. And this is kind of the time throughout this year of authenticity and also personal inner strength, right? Is knowing when you don't have to explain yourself for the decisions you make. You do not
Own
have
it.
to
Just
explain
own
it.
it.
Right. Not everyone needs to have an explanation
I
of what your
agree.
choices
I
are.
think that is huge to underline, highlight that because
Yep.
100%.
So that part, I think, is part of I would say, the self-sabotage or the misstep that could happen. Because what happens usually, if we go into a conversation knowing that I have to explain something, and now that I'm explaining it, they're going to usually create doubt. They create doubt of something that was already a choice that was already made.
That's
So
right.
it's not forward moving,
So true.
Be
right?
careful.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Got it.
All right. So the end here, we have the Knight of Cups, the Seven of Swords, and the Nine of Swords. So much sword energy in this
Can you
Leo
just,
season.
yeah, and sword versus wand energy is,
Yes. So wands are fire. Wands are action. This is when we talk about wands energy and fire energy, this is about creation energy, life force energy, momentum, drive, ambition, creativity. When we talk about air energy, which is swords, that is usually communication, in mental space, in decisions, in thinking, in processing. So swords energy has always a cold tone to it. And this has a very Uranian tone, even though we are in, a fire season with Leo. But I think, like I said, the highlight here, since we're in the pure Leo strength of the year, I think the highlight is knowing with the magician card in the middle, that's where our strength is. It's like the inner core of what we've been trying to get to this entire year is knowing we have all the tools. We have all the tools to run on instinct. We have the tools now. So it's here for us to just use. So the end here with this Knight of Cups, Seven of Swords, and this Nine of Swords. The Nine of Swords is hanging out again. This was in the last month, but it has, a different tone to it. So now what we're moving, when we move into the end of Leo season, and then we'll be moving into Virgo season, we will be almost overriding the anxiety and the worry. And this comes forward, Knight of Cups, which is about not just our hope, but also moving from that heart space, right? That heart space that we've talked about a lot. And again, Leo actually is heart, right? Leo season and Leo generally is the heart. So if we're talking about what's happening here, and maybe this is why it is happening in Leo season, is this gets to override. And we can almost, in a very cold way, isolate where our worry and anxiety is and do this. Seven of Swords. Just literally compartmentalize it. We're literally just cutting it out. We're almost saying, like, this part doesn't belong in my heart space. This doesn't belong in my movement forward. And we are just literally cutting it off. So I think there's this weird blend here of, like I said, execution, instinct, but maybe more importantly, with the why it's happening in Leo season in this August, is because we know now that the core of everything is coming from our heart space. We know it now, right? We know it's all here. It's all driven from our hope of who we are and what we want is all within our heart space. And so there is no waffling. There's no waffling anymore about what we believe. What we believe to be true is that we have, again, magician card, we have all the tools to manifest the end of this race to victory, right? It's coming from that space of the heart. But I think why it's really important in this particular way, like I said, it's talking to me about not the overthinking, not the overanalyzing, not the learning anything anymore. It's talking to me about how instinctual this space is now.
Wow. We have done the work.
Yeah. And so
And
it's
now
like,
it's just trusting it, trusting that you do. That's the bottom line.
Well, and yeah, and what comes to mind for me is this faith over fear and knowing that we've done the work to have that real faith, but then being able now to really cut the fear out. Like that visual for me that you just gave is so helpful. You can now just get rid of it.
yeah, it's like just a no, right?
No.
It's as simple as a no.
Yeah.
And I will say that logic is here, right? Every time I get swords energy and that King of Swords is in the block. So here's what wins in August is our brain is not here. It's here.
It's in your heart.
It's in my heart. And the fact that we know that now, for hopefully everybody that's listening and anyone who wants to be operating in this space, is we know that now. So there isn't any choice to be made. We're not bringing it up into our headspace and saying, oh, well, what's the logic here? What's the rationality? We're saying, no, let me check in with my heart. Let me check in with my real brain, right? Which is right here. And is it a yes or no? Simplistic.
Love that. That's so good.
I think so many people need that reassurance from you to hear that because it is so easy to, as we've talked about in this conversation, overanalyze, doubt, hesitate. And you have been doing the work. If you're listening to this, most likely have listened to all of what we've been talking about since the beginning of the year.
Yeah. And how many of us have been taught to override the heart?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right, Karen.
That's a good term, Karen,
So
for what
true.
this sounds like. Why this is here, I think, in your month, Karen, right? Why this is here is that we've chose and decided that our brain doesn't override our heart anymore, right? It doesn't override our heart. It's a great tool. Our brain is a great tool for solving problems, but it is not our discerning space for yes or no.
Yes, that is so true. I mean, think about all the times in your life where you haven't trusted your heart and you've trusted just what your brain was telling you. Most likely at some point you were disappointed or sad from whatever that experience. I mean, it's all part of the experience. So there's no wrong. It's just it's disappointing. It takes longer to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. And I feel like even as a Leo, there's so much in my past experience where I have hidden the heart because I felt like I needed to lead with the head and the brain and all of the social things that they want you to do. And oh my gosh, how many times I felt so unfulfilled because of that and like artificial, like I wasn't even being my true self. And the moments that I've been able to let my heart out and shine, that's brought me the most joy and brings other people joy too. So if you're one of those people, allow your heart to come out and play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust it.
And it's expression, a core value of Leos, and Karen, you can tell me if this is true, is the ability and the courage and the desire to express.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Right. So if what we're talking about here is expressing from the heart and not expressing, if this is our brain now, right? And again, it has that nuance. It's not about the feelings of the heart. It's about decisions, the instinct of the heart, decisions that are made from the heart because we understand and we have given it power that this is our brain. Our brain is not up in our head. That is used to run our body, our 3D, to solve problems and logic, but it is not really where we function from. So I think we're expressing now. It's almost like that override is a great term. It's like we overrode the brain to say, our human brain to say, that's not how we operate anymore.
That's the real strength.
And real authenticity,
That's
which
right.
Leo
That's
is
right.
all about, authenticity. So we are kind of in the pure space, I think, of strength, authenticity, and expression in August. But it's looking very, weird to me that it's not in this fiery way. It's in this very clear-headed, and I'll use that term specifically, clear-headed, because we're using our heart, not our brain. We're using our heart.
Wow.
This has been one of my favorite readings in a long. I just
Yeah.
feel every reading you do for us, Michelle, are great. It's like the weather report I always say, but this feels so empowering and it feels like you can really tune into your soul's purpose by listening to your heart and let that be your guide. And for so many of us, I don't think that we've given our heart that power in our lives.
Yeah, I don't think we see it, at least in the Western world. Eastern world's a little different, but in the Western world, we don't see that as where we make decisions from.
No.
We see that as, yeah, let me check in with my feelings. Let me check in with what do I feel heard, what my sensitivity is to the situation or this person, but you're not saying, let me see what my heart says for my decision.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's so simple.
And it's so simple.
And you've
really
done
is.
the work and you've done the work to trust. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why this King of Swords is in the block, because I want to show you this guy. I mean, he looks like a cold character.
He does.
Right?
He really
He's
does.
like stern and not fun. Leos are fun. This guy does not look fun. Right. And if we're talking about play and, like even that word play, which I think is so important to people, and we undervalue that, we undermine play as that it's frivolous, but it's not. Logic doesn't have more value than feelings in our heart. We have, particularly in this part of the world, have given our head and logic so much more value. Why? It's not more important. It doesn't make us more intelligent to think from our brain versus our heart. So I think this block here with this King of Swords is like, don't let him boss you around. Don't let that brain take over and say, oh, you're being not serious or you're not thinking this through, and have those conversations with people. You've made a decision and people say, I don't know, is that the smartest decision for you? And you're like, well, I've checked in with my heart and I know it's yes or no.
And leave it at that.
Yep.
And leave it at that.
Wow, so
Thank
good.
you. Thank you so much, Michelle. So excited to see what happens this month. We'll be back in September.
Right. It's not the energy I expected. I was like the bold, playful Leos, but this is an interesting one. And I love like the heart has kind of taken over as an operating system.
Yeah.
It matches how strength showed up in the beginning of the year. So,
Yes.
so
Yes.
makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
All right.
thank you, ladies.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having me.
Thank you, Michelle.
And if you want to find out more about working with Michelle, please email her at m@mtnolan.com or go to the Seeking Center community, which is seekingcentercommunity.com. You can find her there as well.